everyone, today I'm going to try to review and then rank all the Yasso bars that I can find at my local grocery store. And because we're in the internet and we love to like repeat ourselves and copy each other, I will be ranking them using a tiered list, but to be a little bit, different and fancy. I have created a tiered list board. Yes, it is very bootleg, I understand. I literally made it by myself. It took me like 10 minutes, 20-ish. Yep, 10 minutes or so. The supplies were also like 10 years old. So yeah, it's a little bootleg, but I'm very proud of it. And so be polite and kind in the comments or else I will cry. So more or less, let us begin. Also, I'm going to be trying to have them all one bar. So I'll be making this over a span of a couple of weeks. So if I look different or change, that is why. Because if I had these all in one sitting, I would die because I'm slightly lactose intolerant. Okay, so we're gonna first start with their kind of classic vanilla and then chocolate crunch. Okay, so looks like some of it fell off. It's not in the bag, so it's just wasn't fully covered, which is a little bit annoying, especially because these are a little pricier, but I'm not gonna complain that much. But let's try out the vanilla chocolate crunch. Okay, so I've had the vanilla chocolate crunch, so let's talk about it. So this one's very much, kind of the classic, vanilla with the chocolate crunchy shell. I thought it was interesting because, usually with these, the, quote unquote, crunchy shell is, chocolate and then peanuts. But with this one, it's surprisingly, I think it's called pop quinoa. That really did kind of pop out to me because I was expecting peanuts. So the taste was a little different in the terms of there was no peanut taste. But I think it's pretty cool because this means that you can have this if you're allergic to peanuts. Now the actual popple quinoa, no taste. It's very much just the texture. The texture is pretty good. It reminds me a lot of the crunch bars. So, and I love the crunch bars, so I'm a big fan of that. As a whole, I think that this is basic, but it's really good. When it comes to the actual ice cream or the frozen yogurt, it's a classic vanilla. I don't think there was a very, very strong taste of the vanilla. I think that the chocolate definitely did take over the bar more, but it wasn't bad. I think that it was a pretty solid vanilla. It was a little bit dimmed down, of course, but it wasn't different or had any things that popped out making me be oh, I don't really like this. Texture wise was nice, nice and smooth. There's no graininess or anything like that. Okay, so when it comes to the ranking, I would say that this is, as a whole, a solid B. Now I have to say that I think, as this goes on, I'll be rating these bars off of each other, meaning that this ranking might change a little bit. But I think right now, this is my first one. I would give this a solid B. I think that it is basic. B is for basic. But I think it really is just the borderline. There's no different, flavors that I'm be oh, interesting, different, fun. But there isn't anything where it says, oh, the quality is bad. You know what I mean? So I think a solid B is good. So from going from the most basic to one of the more specialty kinds, we have the birthday cake. This is what we're dealing with. I can definitely see some sprinkles in. It definitely smells like cake. So I'm excited. So let's try it out. Okay, so I've had the birthday cake bar, so let's talk about it. So honestly, there is a level of sweetness that I think, different for everybody. And I think I have a very, very high tolerance for sweetness. I really, really like sweet stuff. But even I'm a little bit this tastes a little bit too sweet. Maybe there's an artificialness to it, I think. I think in the beginning when I tasted it, I was oh, this tastes really good. Oh, this really tastes like vanilla cake. No, not just vanilla ice cream. It tasted like vanilla cake. There's something doughiness, not to the texture, but kind of to the taste. I'm not sure if that makes a lot of sense, but yeah, more or less, I was a fan for a while. But honestly, around halfway through this, I was thinking man, there's almost an artificialness to it. At first it was good, but then I started slowly being this is getting a little bit too much. And then by the end, I was just thinking yeah, this was just a little bit too artificial tasting. And I think it kind of makes sense. It's a little hard to, make any food taste like a different food, if that makes sense to you guys. But yeah, I don't know. I think that for what it was, that was kind of cool. It was birthday cake, tastes like birthday cake. But again, as it went on, that artificialness that made it, the chemicals or whatever that made it into that birthday cake, it got a little bit too much for me. And so when it comes to my ranking, I would definitely give this a solid C. I think that it was pretty cool, the novelty was pretty fun, but again, the chemical taste, the artificialness of it just kind of took over a little bit too much for me. If it was a little bit like less like that, I think it would probably have been like at par with the vanilla or even higher. But for now, I think that it's staying in C. Let's go on to our third bar, which I have high hopes for because I am incredibly basic. I love Oreos, and my favorite kind of ice cream is, of course, cookies and cream. So I'm very excited to try out Yasso's cookies and cream bar. Okay, it's looking nice. It definitely looks like a cookies and cream style ice cream, or frozen yogurt. I do think in terms of like health, I feel like this is all a dessert snack situation. It's not like you're eating a fruit or vegetable or whatnot, but it is supposed to be like an alternative for a ice cream bar or ice cream sandwich. And so far, like, I'm not sure like the actual sciences of these Yasso bars, but in terms of just base calories, it's pretty good. I think this is literally like 90 calories, so that's not a bad deal for a nice snack. But let us try it out. Okay, so I've had the cookies and cream bar. I think that there's a little bit of an issue because I had such high hopes. Of course, when you have such high hopes, they usually fall a bit farther. As a whole, I feel like the flavor was a little bit dulled. It mostly tasted more just like the, just the regular vanilla ice cream we had before with the crunch one, with a little bit of taste of the like the cookies and cream style, like the Oreo kind of taste in terms of like the chocolate wafer. But for me personally, I really like when you can really taste the chocolate wafer a little bit, and even the vanilla filling of it. I really like having like the actual Oreos or the cookies and cream really get into the ice cream in big huge chunks. That's my favorite. And this didn't really have it. I didn't really taste really any of the chocolate itself. It was a little bit of like a whiff, you could say, a tiny little hint of the flavor of the cookies and cream, but as a whole, it mostly just tasted like the vanilla ice cream itself in a more dulled flavor. So when it comes to the ranking, I think I would give this a solid B. I think that it is better than our birthday cake. In terms of there's no like the chemical taste that we had with the birthday cake, I'm not having that with this one at least. But I still enjoy the chocolate crunch more. And for our fourth, we're trying out the chocolate fudge. So I am hopeful for a good chocolate taste. I think so far it has been very much vanilla, vanilla, vanilla. So I'm excited for a different flavor. Okay, so I just had this one. So far, this is my favorite one. I think that number one, of course, the actual, sweetness is a little dull. I think that's kind of like for all of these, you're not expecting a like ice cream style, super, super sweet treat. This is a little bit more dull because, of course, it is frozen yogurt. So I'm not going to say like, it's not sweet enough, give it an F. I do want to point that out just because I don't want to like, give a false impression about how this tastes. But the actual taste was really, really nice. It had that like deep kind of cacao fudginess. It wasn't like bitter, but it definitely was deeper than most chocolate. I thought it was a nice different flavor. It was deeper, which was really, really nice. And as a whole, I definitely really like this one. When it comes to our ratings, I would definitely give this a solid A. I just felt like the flavors were a bit more richer. I think like for these, well, it was really good. I felt like, they kind of played second fiddle to the vanilla, which of course you want to do if your, main thing is like, cookies and cream or birthday cake. It's a very, very thin, fine line when it comes to like making it taste good without dulling the flavors, but still, not making it taste artificial. And they've been kind of like teetering back and forth a little bit. But I think like this, it's just regular, just chocolate, and they did a really, really good job. So a definite A for the chocolate fudge. Okay, so our next Yasso bar is one that if you go to Costco, or if you have been to Costco, multiple times, you probably are familiar with this one. This is the one that Costco usually stocks up once in a while, to my mother's chagrin, because she loves these things. It is the mint chocolate chip Yasso bar. Now, even though my mom has this a lot, I haven't actually had this in a really long time, so I'm excited to try it out again. I have really no memory of it anymore. Of course, in terms of taste, because I have a terrible memory. But let's try it out. Definitely not as green as the box would imply, which is good, because I feel like if the Yasso bar was this color green, I would be nervous. So let's try it out. Okay, so I've had the mint chocolate chips, let's talk about it. So, number one, I feel like in the other ones I talked about before, where I felt like sometimes the vanilla was kind of like the main star of the show, and then the actual flavor was kind of like co-star, except for, of course, the birthday cake, where the flavor kind of like went a little bit too overboard. I have a little bit of this, like this one too, but on a little bit of a subtler level. I think that you can really taste the mint flavor, and it doesn't really taste that like super artificial like the birthday cake. But for Sally, for me, something about the mint that they use, the mint flavor that they use, I just really don't like. But the actual flavor, it goes really well. It's not like it's too artificial. I just think, again, like the taste of it isn't something that I really like. In terms of the actual chocolate chips of it, I really like this. I think that they use, again, a dark chocolate chip. And so there's a little bit of bitterness, because it's dark chocolate chip, but it's not like too bitter. And I think it really does go really well with this mint. So it might be a little bit of, hit or miss depending on how you like the flavor of the mint. But again, how it's actually incorporated in this ice cream is really good. I like that. So when it comes to this board, it's a little bit hard because I don't, again, like the flavor of the mint, but I really do like this bar overall. And I think that while I'm being a little bit like both subjective and objective, mostly subjective, but in a way of like thinking that like, hey, just because I don't really like it, I can see why it's really good still. I would give this a solid A. I don't think it is as good as the chocolate fudge, but I think it's still on an A level versus this just because of how the flavor was incorporated. I think as a whole, every, actor, you could say, in this metaphorical play did its part. And in that way, I think this would get a solid A, whereas these two, they played a little bit less apart, except for like vanilla, where I just felt like it was just a basic, average. Okay, next one is the coffee chocolate chip. It looks like this. It smells very strongly of coffee, so I'm excited. Okay, so I have to say, caveat with what I'm going to say, I'm going to probably mention it like 1,000 more times while I'm talking about this, but I just want to say it up front right now. I am not the biggest fan of coffee. I don't drink it personally, but even with that being said, this is really good. The coffee flavor immediately comes out. I would probably say this is more like an espresso kind of taste, where it's more like the creamy coffee than the rich dark coffee, but it's still like bam, hits you, immediately tastes like coffee. And it's not, again, like the artificial tasting coffee. It really does taste like, a good like espresso kind of, creamy coffee. There is a little bit of aftertaste that the other ones did not have, but again, it's kind of like that coffee aftertaste. It's not like a weird, different aftertaste. And again, it's not like bitter. It just tastes like espresso. I think they're also using the same kind of chocolate chips. I really do think it works really well, kind of like it did with the mint chocolate chip. I thought it was really good. I thought that the taste went really well. It wasn't, artificially tasting. It really tasted like what it was. And, as a whole, it played together really well. I think the only issue for me is because I don't like coffee. I'm just not a big fan. But I have a huge feeling that my mom, who loves coffee, will adore these. And if you really love coffee, you will probably like them too. And I really think that because Yasso is, more like health conscious, that a lot of these, flavors, they are kind of like a little bit dull in their flavor because they're trying to keep them, semi-healthy. But I do think that this coffee chocolate chip does the best in terms of giving you the best version of what it tells it's going to be. It says it's going to be coffee chocolate chip, and it really does do that, and it doesn't kind of like skimp on it or dull the flavors because of it's trying to like be still healthy. This coffee chocolate chip should get an S tier. And if you really don't like coffee, even more than I do, you would probably bump it down. but I think that people who do like coffee would definitely say that it deserves super. Okay everyone, so I'm gonna have a little intermission before I continue on and make a little bit of change. I had a whole spiel, of course, which you just finished listening to probably, about how, you know, the mint chocolate, blah, 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 not my preference. I have slept on it and I've thought about this, and honestly, in reality, this is my board and I want to be more subjective about it. So I am going to drop this one down to a B, but I also have been thinking about how I really did enjoy the vanilla chocolate. So I am going to bump it up to an A. So let's just do that real quick. You are being promoted vanilla chocolate crunch, and you are being I was gonna say depromoted, which is not the word I was thinking of. You're being downgraded mint chocolate chip. That's my little change. Now let's continue. So our next Yasso bar is chocolate chip cookie dough. So my thoughts. Number one, this one felt very much like the cookies and cream ice cream one, where it was like vanilla, and then you got like a slight hint, a little sprinkle of the actual flavor. But after that, it was just vanilla, and the whole time I was eating it, I was just kind of like waiting, thinking like, where's the flavor? You know, where is the cookie dough? And I definitely felt like for the cookies and cream, it was way more me waiting and being disappointed. Whereas this one, it was a little bit less like that because of the chocolate chips that they have. It's the same chocolate chips we've had before with the other chocolate chips. They've not changed that. But I feel like, you know, usually with like the cookie dough flavors, the cookie dough, you can really taste it. You know, it does have that like nice, like sweet cookie dough taste. And every time I took a bite of the cookie dough, honestly, there was like no taste. It was the weirdest thing. It was like not sweet, no like cookie dough flavor. It was just there, a different like texture change a little bit, but after that, the same thing with the rest of the ice cream. But I still did quite like it. So when it comes to the rating of the chocolate chip cookie dough, I would say, because back to being subjective, I was much more disappointed with the cookies and cream just because I love cookies and cream so much and I was really, really excited to have that, and it really did fall flat for me. I would bump cookies and cream down to third place B and put chocolate chip cookie dough right in second place B. Again, was waiting for the flavor, but when the flavor did come out, it was okay. Mostly just chocolate chip though. The cookie dough didn't really exist. So there goes chocolate chip cookie dough, B. And we have come to our final Yasso bar, the sea salt caramel. Okay, so let's try it out. Ooh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay, so I have a lot of thoughts about this last one. So, number one, off the bat, you've probably been seeing this throughout the video if you have noticed. If not, I'm just gonna tell you right now. But I have kind of been a little bit lax in, letting these, you could say, soften enough before I start eating them. They usually are pretty, hard and solid, frozen wise, and then, they have even say on the box, like let these, sit out for a minute or two so you can have the ideal amount of creaminess and it melts enough where you can eat it easily without hurting your teeth or whatever. And definitely for all of them, except for this one, that has been the case where I definitely suggest that you do let it sit out for a few minutes before, or a minute or so before you bite into it, just because it is pretty hard coming out, just because, it freezes pretty well. This one, honestly, right straight out, it was, nice and soft, very easy to eat. I was a big fan of that because I am impatient, and the flavor immediately hits you. That swirl is no joke. It really is just like this. It has swirls and swirls of the caramel in it. But that caramel is super intense. It is super sweet, and it's just super caramely. And it's honestly too much in my opinion. I think intense is a word that I'm going to use a lot in this because I think it really just defines that flavor immediately. You can probably see in the footage, I was beginning to pucker up a little bit because it was just hitting so hard. And I don't know how to really explain it, but just, it was just a lot. And I thought it was a little bit too much, you know? I just thought that it was, again, just too intense. And you know, if you are a really big fan of caramel and if you're used to that level of like sweet caramel taste, this will probably be okay with you. But for everybody else, and like, again, I really like sweets, and I'm here saying right now, this was too intense. I kind of feel bad because in the beginning I was like, oh, this is gonna be really great. And then it just continued and continued. And I was just like, I can't do it, you know? So with that being said, I would definitely give this, I would have to say, I think it was honestly even worse than the birthday cake. The birthday cake was hard to eat because of the artificial taste. And that, you know, kind of came up on you slowly at first, and then it was just like waves and waves of it. This was like a tidal wave, and it just swept you away in terms of just like, wow. I couldn't deal with it. So sadly, I would still give it a C. I wouldn't think it was like unbearable, but I think, you know, dead last in C is a good place for that. But that being said, that is all the Yasso bars that I could find in my grocery store, ranked from the tier list, of course. And I do know that there are, I think, a couple more Yasso bar flavors that I have not reviewed. I think there's like 2 other chocolate crunches, but I personally just, you know, made the executive decision not to do that because I felt like one was enough, you know, didn't have to like double dip on the flavor. I really want to do kind of like different flavors, you know, not really try to like do the same ones. And if there are other ones, I just could not find them at my grocery store. So when you like comment, hey, I didn't try out insert this flavor, it wasn't at my grocery store, I'm sorry, and let me know how it is. My final thoughts, I think, as a whole, is I really do like Yasso bars. I think they are a pretty great alternative old ice cream bar situation. I think really their biggest issue is in terms of pricing. You know, in the beginning it was pretty okay because I was getting these on sale, so they were like, you know, $3 or $4. But by the end of me filming these, the sale has gone and I am paying full price, so that's like $7 per box. So I'm paying a pretty big penny for this, and you know, I don't really think people can really justify that prices at this point. So if you care, Yasso, about my opinions, lower your prices and you'll probably get more customers. I definitely know that, like, you know, their partnership with Costco is probably doing really well because just personal experience, my mom really loves them. It always gets them at Costco when they're available, and she's very upset when they're not available. So in that way, I think they're doing a good job there. So maybe like try to like bring more of your flavors in if you can. But more or less from there, this has been really fun. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, please like, subscribe, let me know in the comments below, and let me know what other like food brands I should review, because you know, I have this board, I created it, and honestly I don't feel like get rid of it right now because I put, you know, a good amount of time on this, and I don't want to just like throw it away after one video. So comment below, you know, the next genre or brand of food I should review next, and I will tier list it again. But with that being said, thank you for watching this video. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and I'll see you guys next time.